My friends, we need to talk about something that could change the lives of millions of immigrants living right here in the United States. It's a word that sparks hope for some and skepticism for others: amnesty. Yes, the Amnesty Bill. Right now, it's sitting on the edge, hanging in the balance, and the big question on everyone's mind is, could it actually pass this time? For years, many families have been waiting, watching politicians go back and forth, promising reform but never quite delivering. And I know, for a lot of you, it feels like every time you hear about a new bill, your heart races because you wonder, will this finally be the one that opens the door to stability, security, and maybe even citizenship? Or will it be just another headline that disappears? This is why today's video is so important. I'm going to break down exactly what's happening with this new amnesty bill, where it stands in Congress, what the chances are of it becoming law, and most importantly, what it could mean for you and your family if it actually moves forward. No confusing legal jargon, no political spin, just clear, honest talk, so you can understand what's really at stake. And here's the truth. This isn't just about politics. This is about people, real people who've built lives here, who contribute every single day, who pay taxes, raise children, and dream of a secure future in the only country many of them now call home. That's why this moment matters so much. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what's going on and what to watch for in the weeks ahead. But before we dive in, do me a quick favor. If you care about immigrant rights, if you believe this conversation matters, please hit that like button. It helps get this video out to more people who need this information, and it shows your support for a fair future. So, let's get into it. Where exactly does this amnesty bill stand right now? Well, the truth is, it's in a very delicate spot. Lawmakers are debating it, interest groups are weighing in, and the media is giving it just enough attention to stir hope, but also leaving a lot of people confused. And I know how that feels, because when you hear the word amnesty, it sounds like something final, like something guaranteed. But in reality, it's just the starting point of a very complicated process. Bills don't just appear and magically turn into law overnight. They go through committees, hearings, votes, amendments, and sometimes they get stalled or rewritten to the point where they barely look like the original proposal. That's why so many immigrants have been let down in the past, because something that sounds promising at first doesn't always survive the political roller coaster that follows. But here's what's different about this moment. We're not just seeing another small proposal tucked away in the background. This bill is front and center. It's on the edge because politicians know how much is riding on it, especially with elections always around the corner. Both parties are feeling the pressure from immigrant communities, from businesses, from churches, from schools, from everyday people who know that reform isn't just a dream, it's a necessity. Millions of workers are already contributing, millions of families are already part of the American story, and yet their futures remain uncertain. And trust me, lawmakers know that uncertainty is unsustainable. Now, I'm not here to tell you it's all sunshine and roses. You deserve the truth, and the truth is that passing an amnesty bill has never been easy. There are opponents who argue against it. There are negotiations that can stretch on for months. And there are always political games being played. But here's where you should feel encouraged. This bill has momentum. Real conversations are happening at the highest levels, and that alone is a shift compared to the silence and stalemates we've seen in the past. It's not a guarantee, but it is a chance, and for millions of families, even the possibility of change is enough to keep pushing forward. I want you to imagine what it would mean if this bill actually passed. Close your eyes for a moment and think about the weight that could lift off the shoulders of someone who's lived here for decades without legal status. Think about the parent who could finally go to sleep at night without fearing deportation. Think about the young person who could apply for college without worrying about being turned away. Think about the contributions that already exist, taxes being paid, businesses being started, communities being strengthened, and imagine those contributions finally being recognized, protected, and encouraged to grow. That's not just life-changing for immigrants, that's nation-changing for America. But let's get practical, because I know you don't just want to dream, you want to understand. Right now, this amnesty bill is designed to provide a pathway for certain groups of immigrants. Some will qualify based on how long they've been here, some based on family ties, some based on work history. The details matter, and they're still being argued over, but the overall goal is the same: to finally give people who have built their lives here a chance to step out of the shadows and live with dignity. That's powerful, and that's worth fighting for. Of course, opponents will say this rewards people who broke the law, or it will encourage more illegal immigration. And I know many of you have heard that line again and again. But let's be real, immigration isn't about rewarding or punishing, it's about acknowledging reality. The reality is that millions of people are already here, already part of the economy, already raising American-born children, already paying into the system without receiving the full benefits. The question isn't whether they exist, the question is whether America will finally choose to embrace them fully or continue leaving them in limbo. That's the real debate. And I'll tell you something else that's different this time. Public opinion has shifted. More Americans than ever understand that immigrants aren't just outsiders. They're neighbors, co-workers, classmates, caregivers, and friends. They're part of the everyday fabric of life in this country. And when you have public opinion leaning toward compassion, lawmakers take notice. They know they can't just ignore that forever. Now, I want to pause for a second and talk directly to you, because this is where your voice matters. It's easy to feel powerless, like decisions are made in Washington and you just have to wait and see. But the truth is, lawmakers pay attention when communities speak up. They notice when people show up at town halls, when letters are written, when social media lights up with support. Even something as simple as sharing a video like this can spread awareness and remind people that these issues aren't abstract, they're deeply personal. So if you haven't already, take a moment to hit that like button right now. It helps this video reach more people, but more importantly, it shows that you're part of the conversation. It tells me and everyone watching that you believe this topic matters, and that you're invested in a future where immigrants aren't left behind. All right, so where do we go from here? The path ahead is still uncertain, and I won't pretend otherwise. There will be debates, amendments, and probably some setbacks along the way. But the fact that this amnesty bill has made it this far means the conversation is alive. And that's half the battle, keeping the issue on the table, refusing to let it fade into the background. Because when it fades, families suffer in silence. But when it stays in the spotlight, change is possible. I also want to remind you of something very important. Hope doesn't mean naivety. It's okay to hope while also being realistic. It's okay to feel excited about the possibility while also preparing for the fact that the process could drag on. What matters most is that you don't lose your voice in the process. Your story, your family's story, your community's story, these are powerful. They're what remind lawmakers that behind every bill are real human beings with dreams and struggles. Never underestimate the power of those stories. Think about history. Every major immigration reform that has ever passed in the United States started with people doubting it would ever happen. In the 1980s, there were similar debates, and many thought reform was impossible. And yet it happened. Families were legalized, futures were secured, and a generation was given the chance to thrive openly. Was it perfect? No, but it was progress. And progress, even when it comes slowly, always matters. This bill, right now, is another chance at progress. Maybe it won't be perfect. Maybe it won't include everyone we hope for. But if it moves the needle, if it gives millions of people the dignity they deserve, that's a step worth celebrating. As we watch this unfold, I want you to stay informed, stay engaged, and most of all, stay hopeful. Don't let cynicism steal your belief that change is possible. Because if there's one thing history shows us, it's that persistence pays off. Immigrant communities have been persistent for decades, organizing, voting, raising their voices, and it's because of that persistence that bills like this even have a chance today. So keep paying attention. Keep talking to your neighbors. Keep supporting each other. And keep believing that your future in this country is worth fighting for. Because it absolutely is.